The tension in the Senate hearing room was so thick, you could almost feel it pressing against your chest. Cameras were rolling, reporters were scribbling furiously, and two of Washington's most outspoken voices, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and Senator John Kennedy, were locked in a confrontation that no one saw coming. What began as a heated political debate would soon turn into one of the most emotionally charged moments of the year, or one that left both the audience and millions watching online speechless. It started with a simple statement from Crockett, fiery and unapologetic as ever. "Senator Kennedy," she said, her tone calm but cutting, "your comments over the past few weeks have shown a clear lack of empathy and leadership. You are unfit to serve the American people." Gasps rippled through the room. Kennedy, known for his folksy humor and razor-sharp wit, leaned back in his chair, a faint smile playing on his lips. But instead of firing back with one of his usual one-liners, he quietly reached into his folder. "Congresswoman," he said softly, "before you make that judgment, I think it's only fair that you hear something first." The room fell silent as Kennedy held up a small recorder. The air seemed to freeze as he pressed play. At first, it was hard to make out the voice on the recording, a shaky, tired, and emotional. But then the words became clear. It was a woman, speaking through tears. She told the story of how Kennedy had shown up at her home in Louisiana after a devastating flood had wiped out her family's belongings. He didn't come with cameras or press. He didn't give a speech. He simply brought food, helped rebuild, and quietly paid the family's medical bills out of his own pocket. As the voice continued, another came in up this time, a veteran who said Kennedy had personally called him when his benefits were delayed, ensuring the man got the care he needed. A single mother spoke next, describing how Kennedy had anonymously donated to her son's education fund after hearing about her struggles. The room was completely still. Crockett's eyes softened, and even some of her own staff looked moved. This wasn't the Senator Kennedy the headlines talked about. This was a man who, despite his political bravado, had touched lives when no one was watching. When the recording ended, Kennedy didn't say a word. He simply looked at Crockett and whispered, "Sometimes, being fit for service isn't about what people see, it's about what you do when nobody's looking." Crockett paused, visibly shaken. She cleared her throat, trying to hold her composure. "I didn't know about that," she admitted, her voice quieter now. "And I respect that, truly." Her tone was different, less confrontational, more reflective. "But you have to understand, people need transparency. They need to see both the good and the flaws, so they can decide who really stands for them." Kennedy nodded. "You're right," he said. "We all have room to do better, even me." It was one of those rare Washington moments when humanity overpowered politics. Two people from opposite sides of the aisle, one bold and fiery, the other wry and calculated, found themselves united by something deeper. The understanding that leadership isn't just about rhetoric, it's about responsibility. In the days that followed, the clip of the exchange went viral. The internet was divided, as it always is, but something about the encounter struck a chord with people across the spectrum. Some praised Crockett's courage to confront power head-on. Others admired Kennedy's humility in letting his actions speak louder than his words. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing: this wasn't politics as usual. This was real. Crockett later appeared on a morning show, where she reflected on that day. "We're all trying to do what's right for the people we serve," she said. "Sometimes, we get caught up in fighting each other instead of fighting for them." That moment reminded me that empathy still matters, even in Washington. Kennedy, meanwhile, remained characteristically understated. One reporters asked for his reaction. "I didn't play that recording to prove anything," he said. "I just wanted to remind folks that before we call each other names, we should take a minute to listen." Weeks later, the two appeared side by side at a bipartisan town hall, an event neither had planned, but both agreed to attend. They spoke not as enemies, but as Americans, urging the crowd to stay engaged, informed, and compassionate. The audience rose to their feet in applause, moved by the unlikely unity that had formed out of confrontation. In the end, what began as a moment of division turned into a lesson in grace. Crockett's passion and Kennedy's humility showed that leadership doesn't belong to a party, it belongs to those willing to learn, to listen, and to lead with heart. And perhaps, that's what America needed to hear most.